Radical.
A lot of people a few months back were racking their brains trying to make it make sense, trying to figure out exactly why the Dallas Mavericks would trade Luka to the LA Lakers for not a whole lot back in return. Make it make sense. I kept saying to myself, make it make fucking sense to me, because it made absolutely no sense. And I talked about it in my upload months back when it happened. I mean, Luka is one of the best, at least offensive players in the NBA. People can argue back and forth who they think is in the top five. A lot of people would have Jokic, they would have SGA, they would have Giannis, maybe ahead of Luka, but fringe top five player. When it comes to offense, maybe top three player. Now, I mean, here lately, he's kind of been a little bit out of shape, maybe not himself, but last year he went to the conference finals. So this guy took his team to the conference finals a year before. And you're telling me that this team, just because officially they say defense wins championships and no real big reason to trade him, he didn't want to leave, he was blindsided by this, it didn't make any sense. Make it make sense. That's what I kept saying. And a lot of people pointed to, and I brought up the possibility that they were trying to tank their team. The owners were trying to tank their team so they could easily move out without the NBA, and a lot of people actually trying to stop it, move to Vegas. Because the owners of the Dallas Mavericks are really heavy into, casinos and all that kind of stuff. But even then, I was like, that's got to be the only reason. Now we have the reason. Now we know exactly why the fuck they traded Luka to the Lakers of all places. I even brought up the fact that it might be something from the NBA just to try to help LeBron. And more on that in a moment. More on LeBron in a moment. But now it makes sense because they got the number one pick. Cooper Flagg. A lot of people are saying he's a generational talent along the lines of a LeBron James or a Victor, Wemby. I'm not even going to attempt his last name because I always murder that last name. I don't know if I'd go that far, but Cooper is a great prospect. He's definitely the biggest prospect, I think, to come out of college basketball in the last several years. From everything I have seen, everyone wanted Cooper. Everyone wanted Cooper. To the point, you see a lot of teams like maybe the Hornets and the Wizards and the Jazz. A lot of teams were actively trying to tank this year. Well, they're pretty bad, so maybe it wasn't all tanking. Maybe they're just terrible. Let's just say they weren't giving it their all because they knew they wanted to have the best shot to land Cooper. Well, this is not the NFL. It's not automatically the worst team gets the number one pick. So tanking can be a bit of a gamble. So what happened was, out of the top three picks in this draft, I don't know who picked three, were San Antonio with the 2, and the first with the Mavericks. The people with the worst records, they didn't even get in the top 3. And when it comes to an NBA draft, yeah, there's some talent down the line a little bit, but really people focus on the first couple players. And how you got to feel if you're one of those organizations like freaking the Hornets or the Jazz, and you tanked all year and all you get is a pick outside of the top 3. Boy, I would be pissed. I would be especially pissed if these teams, I know they can't actively come out without being fined and pointing at the fact that the draft lottery this year was rigged. Rigged. Can't nobody tell me no different because now it makes perfect sense. Make it make sense. It makes sense now. Let me explain how it makes sense. So the NBA is all about ratings, and they've been suffering when it comes to ratings. Now, how do you get ratings? Well, you focus on your stars. And still, even to this point, even at his elderly age, LeBron James is the biggest bankable star in the NBA. There's no other star in the NBA that gets talked about fucking constantly on television as LeBron. Even everything around him is a conversation. Oh, he's better than Jordan. Oh, his son Bronny's coming into the league. Everything in the NBA seems to sadly, very sadly, at least when it comes to ESPN and the media, revolve around LeBron. Okay? I wish it wasn't the case. There's a lot of great players and a lot of great teams to actually discuss. But for some reason, do we see any Thunder news? No, we don't. It's all about the fucking Lakers or maybe the Warriors, and there's a couple teams that they tend to focus on and a couple stars. So they want to maximize and squeeze the last bit of profitability out of LeBron as they possibly can. So in this draft lottery, they had to get him a bankable star. Even if it doesn't end this in the playoffs. See, I have so many NBA uploads I could have been uploading, but I just don't have the time. In the NBA playoffs, I wanted to talk about the Wolves destroying, eviscerating, ripping apart the Lakers for the one in that series, giving them the gentleman sweep. And maybe that wasn't exactly planned by getting him a star like Luka. But maybe next year they'll get a center. They'll be better. But it's really not about anything but ratings. The NBA wants ratings. And they want their top tier team, which is the LA Lakers. There's some like the Celtics that they like to focus on too, but really, it's about the Lakers, okay? It's always been about the Lakers. That's their biggest big market team is the Lakers. LeBron's getting older. He's retiring. They probably see that Anthony Davis is not going to be that centerpiece of a Lakers team because he stays in a fucking wheelchair all the time. Stays in street clothes all the time. He's injured all the time. So how about we get Luka over there? How about we get Luka to the Lakers? So they ain't got to worry about the Lakers for the next 10 years. They figure they're going to be in the conversation. And all they have to be is in the conversation. They don't have to win a title. They just have to be in the conversation, in the playoffs, all season so they can be talked about. And now you have a bankable star in Luka, one of the few stars in the NBA, that you put on a team and boom. Now, in the next couple years, they're probably thinking about, they're salivating at all the people focusing on the Lakers because of Luka and LeBron in that pairing. Now, the Mavericks, they had a lot of backlash to trading their top-tier star Luka at the young age of 25 to, of all teams, a competitor in the LA Lakers. That did not go over so well. Nico, he got lots of threats. But he was happy. That's the thing I didn't understand about it. Nico seemed kind of happy. During the press conference, I guess Jason Kidd wasn't signaled in on the whole deal behind the scenes, but Nico was very positive. He was very happy because Nico knew the deal he had made was cemented months back. And that was for him to get the number 1 draft pick, for him to get Cooper, or to do with it whatever he wished for his team. And now, there's still a lot of fans that are not still happy with Nico, but they're happier now because, wow, they get the next generational talent. What is this guy, 18, 19 years old? So they get a fresh talent, or they get to do what a lot of people are thinking and to trade that talent for a top-tier star to pair with Anthony Davis and Kyrie for their team to win now, which is kind of weird to try to win now because Kyrie, I think he had like a tear of a muscle, I believe, so he's not going to be back for this season. But still, it was a deal put in place. It was a deal put in place. And I know not all of you will agree on this. Well, let me break this down to you. Let's talk about odds. For some reason, I'm thinking about during Dumb and Dumber, Jim Carrey's character, I forget the name, was it Lloyd in the show, I believe? Lloyd in the movie, he really, really liked a beautiful girl. And of course, she was not interested in him. And he asked, what's the chances of us being together? And she said 1 in a million. And he said, so you're saying there's a chance? These motherfuckers almost made the playoffs. These motherfuckers had a 1.8% chance of drawing the first pick. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? A team that makes the stupidest decision in several decades in the NBA, stupidest decision, only gets one draft pick back for a star like Luka, doesn't open up the trade to any of the other NBA teams, has a midnight trade with one particular team. You can't tell me Adam Silver, the NBA head, was not on those calls and did not set that shit up. Because no team is that stupid to trade Luka for just a player and a pick and broke down, wheelchair-bound Anthony Davis. Ain't no team that fucking stupid. So that was the NBA getting in the way of that. And you're not telling me that that team would be so lucky to draw the number one pick with a 1.8% chance. It's like if you thought there were like 100 balls somewhere, and I know they don't use balls now, they use fucking envelopes or some shit. It's not completely transparent. So it's easier to actually cheat the system, and it's easier to cheat now or rig it. You telling me that if I have 17 balls, another team has 20 balls in there, and all these different people, when you throw the 100 balls in there, own a lot of the balls. You telling me that the person that has just one ball in there is going to pull that? Fuck, get the fuck out of here, Get the fuck out of here. Now, some people still might say, well, it's a lottery. There's still the chances. To those people, I would say this. Think about it. And even LeBron James himself on the Pat McAfee show has joked about. He's at the end of his NBA career, so he's actively joking about it, how his hometown team gets to draft him. Chicago gets to draft Derrick Rose. Cleveland gets 3 out of 4 draft picks, right? Well, I don't think he mentioned that, but when he left Cleveland and went to the Miami Heat, Cleveland was awarded with 3 of the next 4 drafts. They got the number 1 pick. Of which one pick they traded to get Kevin Love. LeBron kept joking and mentioning all this stuff, but what's funny is LeBron has to know that the NBA was helping him actively when they got him Anthony Davis, and that translated into him winning that bubblicious championship in 2020. Because the Lakers sent a lot of their crummy players over to the Pelicans with some draft picks to get Anthony Davis. And that was on, let's see here, give me a moment. Okay, that was on, that trade was not finalized, but the wheels put in motion for that trade on June the 15th, which is 5 days before the 2019 draft. Are you fucking kidding me? A couple days before the draft, Anthony Davis, the talks were, everything was put in motion for him to go from the Pelicans to the Lakers. Couple days later, the Pelicans happened to get the number 1 draft pick with a 6% chance of getting that pick. So you're telling me in 2019, not even a decade ago, a team with a 6% chance gets the number 1 draft pick, and now a team with the 1.8% chance, less than a third of that, gets the number 1 draft pick. There's also other things people can point to. They can point to the Patrick Ewing draft back decades ago. They point to the Chris Paul trade. Something about that. I'm not sure about the details about that. But the NBA probably saw that a lot of teams were tanking. A lot of the small market teams like the Jazz and the Hornets, they were tanking because their only hope of getting themselves and making themselves a better team is through the draft. Because ain't no star players wanting to go to play for the Hornets or the Jazz or the fucking Wizards. Or if the Wizards get a star player, they get like a broke down star or something. It's not like any top tier star. Like Giannis is not going to try, and he said he's open to a trade too. There's all these kind of NBA uploads I missed out on because I just don't have the time to talk about it. So this is kind of throwing a lot of these NBA stories all together. Giannis, by the way, he said he's open to leaving the Milwaukee Bucks. So ain't no way Giannis is going to want to go to the Hornets, the Jazz, or the Wizards. Now, if he muscles his way out of there, he's going to want to go to the Houston Rockets. Or he's going to go to... There's so many damn things here, man. So many damn things here. This might be long. Because also, by the way, I hope Jason Tatum heals very quickly. He sadly got a ruptured Achilles, which is one of the worst injuries you can get as a star basketball player. Also, Damian Lillard, I think, has a ruptured Achilles, if I'm not mistaken. Something like that. So that's very, very sad on those two fronts. But because of Damian Lillard and the Milwaukee Bucks, pretty much, they're not competing. Giannis wants to compete. He's open to going somewhere else. So a lot of people think he might go to the Rockets. I think he's going to go to, wait for it, either the Mavericks or the Spurs. Think about it. The Mavericks, they're kind of in a win-now mode. Yeah, they could get Cooper Flagg, and that's great, but I don't think they care much about the future. So I think they might have a dueling bidding war with San Antonio on who gets basically Giannis. And either way, it's good for the league because Dallas and San Antonio, even if they're both not huge market teams, San Antonio historically has been a great place for developing players like Cooper Flagg. Hell, maybe San Antonio, maybe what happens is San Antonio tries to get that number one pick from the Mavericks. And something's worked out to where Giannis goes to the Mavericks, Cooper Flagg goes to the Spurs. And then, you take Wemby and you pair him with Flagg, that's almost a perfect pairing. So there's certain teams the NBA cares about is what I'm saying. And there's certain teams that they don't care about. You look at who's been in the title contention and title picture, outside of maybe like Milwaukee and won with Giannis, one championship, there's always teams that are in the mix. You always got the Warriors, the Lakers, the Celtics. There's certain teams that the NBA tries to help and take care of. And there's certain teams, and it's through things like the draft. It makes you wonder if just about all the drafts are rigged. Because this is a definite moment where anyone that says and claims that the draft is not rigged, you just don't know. You're out of your mind if you don't see actually what is specifically going on here. There's so many more NBA stories. So many more NBA stories as the playoffs. So many different teams winning and losing. The Cavs, man. The Cavs have some injuries, but they pretty much were exposed as frauds versus the Indiana Pacers. The Indiana Pacers won that series 4-1. The Warriors proved themselves to be garbage, pretty much, unless they have Curry on the court. Jimmy tries doing what he can, but Jimmy has an injury. Steph's injured. They're older players. And they're asked to do so much with a garbage team outside of Steph and Jimmy. So they're probably going to lose to the Wolves. Yeah. That's I'm going to leave it there. Because I'd be talking about the rest of this for a while. I just want to focus on that, which is the fact that this NBA draft was rigged. Rigged. 100% rigged. You can't tell me no different. We talk about percentages. Okay, maybe 99% I'm sure it was rigged. All right? And then the 1%, I'll have an open mind for the 1%. But there's no way. There's no way a team so fucking stupid to trade away Luka as the Mavericks happens to just get a gel out of free card. They happen to get an out. And one last thing I'll say, I know I wanted to work this in, is I think the NBA did not expect the backlash against the Mavericks to be so huge. Huge backlash against the moves the Mavericks made. Huge. And I think the NBA also saw that maybe some of the people in the Mavericks organization might be in danger from some of the fan base. That's how bad it got. We're just not talking fire Nico signs. We're talking about bad stuff. And the NBA probably said, okay, well, here's what we have to do. We have to adjust the draft to help them. Even if that wasn't the actual terms of the deal, I'm sure it was put in there later. Even if the NBA got with Nico and offered him a whole lot of cash money or some other favor, even if the deal wasn't made then it was definitely made later once they saw that the Mavericks fan base was just rabid, and they still want a team like the Mavericks to be, viable. They don't want them to completely all the fans to leave them and everything, so they still want them to be viable. So they figured, hey, we'll just award them with a number one draft pick so they can get Giannis or another star player or Cooper Flagg himself and rebuild and keep their fan base. They're still going to be a little pissed they lost Luka, but still a little positive towards the future.